Good morning, everybody, and welcome to What's Real in Real Estate. Got a great show today. Man, we got a special guest, my good buddy and yours, Scott Robinson is here.
Thanks,
you can see
Ellie.
Scott over there, and we're going to talk with Scott about a variety of things, from VAREP to lending to just Las Vegas and whatever. Because Scott's been around for a long time, knows a lot of people, and he's just a good guy, one of the great guys. And we're going to start off with some exciting news, though. Our inventory is way up.
Way up.
Way up, man. Up to almost 10% from the previous week. So, folks, if you're out looking and you're frustrated, we get it. But don't stop looking. And absolutely do not stop putting in offers, because you're going to hit one of them. And with rates the way they are, and Scott's going to talk about that a little bit, you can't just give up. You got to keep on fighting the fight. We sold almost 3,400 homes in the last 30 days, so people are getting homes and buying homes and getting offers accepted. And the ones that are getting them accepted are the ones that just keep pounding. They keep putting them in, and eventually one of them is going to come through, and you're going to get the home you want. So keep on keeping on. Don't let that frustrate you too much, although I know it's frustrating, but don't let it get you down, because it's just the way the world is today. And it's all over the country. It's not just in Las Vegas. It's everywhere. So, just keep it going, and good things will happen. But let me introduce Scott Robinson to you. I've known Scott for maybe 6-7 years now, I think. I met you back. Yeah, I know. Isn't that something scary, isn't it, for you? Yeah. But we met through VAREP. Scott was the vice president when I met him and met VAREP. And we were talking about it yesterday. I think it was back in 15 at that Switch Center.
Yep.
And then Rudy was there. It was 15, right?
Yep.
So it's been 6 years. Seems like I've known you a long time, man. It really does. Seems like I've known you forever.
Well, it's good because you're a good dude, and I like to be around you, and it makes it very easy to be friends with you.
It is. It really is. And that's one thing about Scott. I mean, if you want to have a good time, just give Scott a call. Go up to Leatherneck, have a couple of brews. Well, no more beer. No beers. Left shots.
Yeah. I'm off the beer and just go right to whiskey.
That goes good with a burger, too.
Whew, yeah.
But
whiskey goes good with anything, just so you know.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It really does. It does. So tell everybody about you a little bit, Scott.
Yeah, Ellie, thanks for having me on, man. You are certainly a pillar in our community, and I appreciate your invitation to come here today. So it's an honor to be here with you,
thank you.
And discuss some things that are pretty important to you and obviously pretty important to me. A little bit about me. I've been in Las Vegas. I moved to Vegas from Arizona. I don't even want to say 20-some years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Prior to that, I was a Marine Corps veteran. Now I'm moved from Wyoming, Marine Corps to Phoenix, Vegas. I've been here ever since. In the mortgage lending business, been doing that since, I hate to say it, but 2003,
Wow.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Was my first deal I ever was a part of. But then I progressed and realized there's a big need for home ownership in our veteran community, and I was able to find the same organization that you're a part of now and you're the current vice president of, that really is a benefit to not only our citizens in our community, but our veteran citizens. And they need that education piece to understand what home ownership means and what it takes to become mortgage ready, because the veteran community, unfortunately, we as a country have not taken very good care of that transitioning veteran, and then we don't know, they're not educated on what those benefits are. We do a good job on their compensation, their pension, their disability income, things like that. We're very good at that, but we have not done a very good job to have them become mortgage ready, which is the fifth big pillar of the VA benefit, right? So that's a big thing for me. And as a veteran, I didn't realize what it meant to be in home ownership and what that could have done for me throughout my life. And because home ownership does thing, it makes you financially stable, and it's a road to wealth. It really is.
Absolutely. I mean, how many people are 70, 75 years old still paying rent?
Yeah.
And they don't know if they're going to have a place to live next week, because the place might get foreclosed, the place might get sold. Absolutely. And VAREP has done so much.
Yeah. Well, we've done some things the organization has done some things that's really been beneficial to the veteran community. I was on a call the other day, and the state was talking about they're making they got a bill that the governor's getting ready to sign that looks like it's going to be a mandatory for veterans to go into a post-service education thing. It's going to help them on all their benefits, number one. But the really cool thing that I thought about that, I don't know if you heard this or not, but they want to keep the veterans in Vegas. They want to keep the veterans in Nevada, and they want to transition them. They want to talk to them about homeownership. They want to talk to them about income, or not income, but employment, things that are that makes their life stable. So look forward to that coming down the pipe here pretty soon. So that transitioning veteran will get a lot of education as far as what it means for home ownership and employment here in Nevada. So that's going to be a pretty cool thing.
That's huge. That's so huge. That's one thing that always bothered me, how our guys and gals are the first ones to raise their hands and say, we're going to go. When they come back, we turn our back on them.
Right. And it's changed.
I know.
Post 9/11 veterans, there's a lot different veterans than our Vietnam veterans, and those guys those guys are the meat and potatoes of our veterans, right? There's almost 8 million.
You're talking about the Vietnam.
Yeah.
You know, the Vietnam. That's my era.
You are?
And that was my era. That's when
are you 80? How
I'm
old are you?
close. But you know, I was number 11 in the draft.
Really?
And the year that I turned 18 was the year the draft was abolished. But I remember it like it was yesterday, the way these veterans came back home, Vietnam veterans came back home and were treated.
Right.
It was horrible. It was just, and now you would think that they would say, well, screw you, but they're not. They're proud, and they're proud Vietnam veterans, and we have a lot of them out here.
Well, and there's a big piece of those of that community too that still won't identify either, just because of the way they were treated in that era. So we're trying to do what we can as an organization to make that better for them, especially taking care of their benefits. I've dealt with multiple Vietnam veterans, and they didn't realize they could even own a piece of this country and become a homeowner and make their life much stable and more comfortable. So. It's exciting to see where this organization is doing, where they're headed. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about you. I didn't know you were a Vietnam era guy. I didn't know you.
I'll be 66. I didn't dodge it. Thank God. I would have. I don't know. I would have. You had to, but it was a mess. It was a bad scene. We had a governor. Mitt Romney's father was our governor, George Romney.
Yeah.
And he was. I told the story because recently somebody, but he was running for president in '68. And he was leading the polls. He was ahead of Nixon. He was leading the pack. He went to Vietnam and came back and told the press, we're being brainwashed, that they're not telling us the truth. He went from leading the pack within a month. He was out of the race. They said he's crazy. Huh. And it came out years later, Romney was telling the truth.
Right.
We were being BS'd and didn't know it. But, yeah, that was a bad scene, man. I mean, I had friends that came back. I mean, so many friends, acquaintances that came back I mean, people come back bad now, but they came back drug addicts, a lot of them. It was a bad scene.
Well, and the organization that you're a part of, they do a lot to address that too. I mean, look, those guys come back and they've seen things that regular, normal citizens of their country would never understand. Even as a military, being in I was a combat veteran from Desert Storm area, and even that stuff that I saw there, it's not. I'm not trying to make this a big thing about me. I'm just saying that about that veteran that's coming back from that kind of environment and trying to transition back into the civilian life is a very difficult thing.
Oh, sure. Well, think about this, and I just read this recently. It made sense to me. You can address it much better than I can. When you came back from Desert Storm, when time you knew you were coming back to the States, how long did it take you to get back?
Oh man, I went on a boat. I didn't go on a plane.
Oh, you did go on a boat.
I was a boat.
That's what this article was about. It said back in World War II, when guys came back from fighting there, they were on a boat for 12 to 16 days, had little time to decompress. Where today's guys and gals, they're on a plane, they're back on U.S. soil within 48 hours sometime, and boom.
Yeah.
They really don't have any time to adjust and reacclimate. And when they leave the service, when they check them out on Nellis, it used to be a 2-3 day. It was a short period.
Yeah.
That's gotten better, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's gotten a little bit better. But even in my era, when I knew I was getting out of the service, I'm just like, holy crap! I don't care what class you're going to send to me. All I'm thinking about is what I'm going to do in a week. Where am I going? And I just hurried myself through that transition piece, and it's very quick. It's dental, it's physical, dental, and then a very short thing on your benefits. But at that point in time in my career, I was like, I'm out of here. I don't care. I'm gone. Right. And even then, Ellie, this is interesting. Is I look back at that time in my life, and I think about, I didn't even identify as a veteran. back
You didn't? Really?
when I got out, right?
Why?
I don't. I'm
I
still
know a lot of
I'm-
women don't.
I'm
But
still
why
tr-
would
yeah,
you
I'm
not
still
have?
trying to figure that out. But it took me 10 years to really say, you know what? I served my country, right?
Sure did.
So it takes some time, and I think that's a little bit a mentality shift that we're trying to create through your organization that you're a part of, and the stop, drop, and push that they're helping with that stuff. There's so many things that the organization's looking at to make sure that transitioning veteran gets all the need that they need.
Let's take a minute. I had Tamara on a few weeks ago.
Oh, you did?
And she talks about, she's very active with stuff. Let's take a minute and talk about it again, because you can't talk about that enough.
No.
People don't realize that 22 veterans commit suicide every single day. Not every other day, every single day. These are people that went out and put their life on the line to keep ours free, and they, for whatever reason, they kill themselves 22 times. It happens a day. Talk about stop, drop, and push.
Man, I'll tell you, Tamara, we just talked about, she's doing a fantastic job. The organization's doing a great job to recognize what that means to the community and what we need to do to correct that. Now, there's so many programs they've got into place to for a holistic approach to take care of these things, whether it's horseback riding, fishing, whatever it may be. They got a way to get, excuse me, they're trying to figure out a way to get that veteran off that couch, away from their current environment, get them into an area where they can feel better about themselves and about what's going on in their lives. Look, I'm part of another organization that does that for hunting and fishing, and I've personally seen that veteran. We pulled him off the couch, put him in the field, went hunting, went fishing, had a great trip, and at the end of the trip, the veteran told me, he says, I'm going home, I'm going to sell my Xbox, I'm going to put down the weed, and I'm going to do this is my thing now, right?
That's great. That's great.
It changes them. So what referring that back to what Tamara's doing in Stop, Drop, and Push is it's the same kind of concept, but it's bigger, right? And we need you guys on Facebook and Ellie's viewers to, if you recognize somebody that needs that help, get them over to Ellie, get them to Tamara,
Yes.
let that organization help them. So Stop, Drop, and Push, I think in my mind is a level that is underserved, and I'm super glad to see that Tamara and her team are making big strides to make that a better thing. So.
No, they sure are. They sure are. Until I got involved with VAREP, I knew none of this stuff that even went on. So outside of our real estate community, outside of VAREP, a lot of people don't realize how difficult a time veterans are having. It isn't talked about enough.
Yeah.
We talk about it.
Yeah.
But outside of VAREP and how much is it? I don't see it much about it at all, and I look for it.
Yeah, I think you got a point there. I think unless you're just like anything else, if you buy a red car, the next time you round about, you see a red car, right? So it's the same kind of thing. So I think our awareness is certainly heightened, but I know our community and our citizens in our community are aware of it, and maybe they just don't have a understanding or aware of what they can do to help. And I'm telling you guys that are watching, get them over to Ellie. Ellie will find a direction for that veteran, whether it may be financial literacy, credit help, home ownership, stop, drop, and push, mental health. To get them over to these guys, they can help facilitate that healing process for that veteran. So
That's what it is.
yeah,
It's a healing process.
So back to your point, yeah, maybe the country's not. I think of it a little bit different. I think there's a much bigger awareness for our veteran community than what you may think. I think the country's done a very good job with making a transition from what it used to be to where it is today. Let's go back to
it's absolutely better today than it was 10 years ago.
Let's go back to when I came home, right? So when I was coming home, we were prepared. They're like, we don't know how the reaction's going to be. We don't know. Just be prepared. Just a quick information, 5-minute speech from the first sergeant saying, hey, we don't know what it's going to be like when we get back home. So just kind of be open to it. Look, we pulled into harbor, man, and there was boats and people cheering. The streets were lined when we came home. When we got back to base and we were dismissed, there was thousands of supporters there. And I kept thinking that, later in my life, I figured out, okay, well, when the guys came home from Vietnam, because Desert Storm was the last conflict since Vietnam. And I think from that time until then, and that was 1990, so Vietnam ended in 75, Desert Storm started in 90. And then since that, I think there's been much more appreciation for our veterans
absolutely.
and what they're doing to take care of our country. So just my thoughts. So
Yeah, no, you're right about that. And Vietnam was really just a kind of a blip. I mean, not a blip, but it was. You look back at World War II and the way our guys were treated. We were heroes when they came back.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, because of Vietnam was just an oddity. But yeah, Desert Storm, everybody was thrilled and proud of everybody who went over there.
Yeah, it was good. I have Vietnam veterans in my life now that I'm just going to tell you a story about my father-in-law. Known the guy for years and years and years. We were in D.C. on a policy conference, and my wife had gone to Michigan, and I decided to go join them in Michigan. We spent a couple days, and I got in kind of late, and I got up the next morning, and everybody's still in bed. And he got up with me, grabbed a cup of coffee, and he sits across the table from me. He's got this coffee mug, and he's just a grouchy guy, right? Just the typical, like, I hate the world kind of guy, right? He's like, well, tell me about this VAREP thing, right? And I'm like, so I went through the whole thing, talked to me. He's like, okay, get dressed. I got somewhere to take you. We go down to this crappy old VFW down the road, and we walk in, and they got this big display of the wars throughout history, and we walk around the corner, there's Vietnam, and all of a sudden there's a case with his name on it. He's got Bronze Star, a couple Purple Hearts, all these awards. And I'm like, dude, what the hell? I just gave him a hug, right? I get goosebumps thinking about it right now. I just gave him a hug thinking about, holy crap, how do I fix it? And I looked at him and I said, well, how come we don't know about this? Why? He's like, this is what he told me. He says, it's embarrassing.
Why was it embarrassing? What war was he in? What war?
Vietnam.
Okay.
Yeah. Shot up a couple times, double Purple Heart, Bronze Star, like just a stud of an Army guy, right? So, so we talk about it, and I'm like, how do I not know about this, and why doesn't the rest of the community? He's like, it's embarrassing. And I just looked at him, I'm like, man, you can't be embarrassed. You served our country. This is what things you did. So now, and I revert back to that story a lot, because when I try to help a veteran or see what they're trying to do, I try to figure out, okay, my father-in-law, how do I get him off the couch? How do I help him? And because those are the people we need to help. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So that's just kind of a story that kind of brings me along to what we're trying to do as a community to help better their lives. But just remember, when you're dealing with those guys, there's something that's bothering them. And we may never know. I may never know exactly what my father-in-law went through. I mean, he'll still tell me stories. I'm like, that's probably, I don't want to know that kind of stuff. But as you're dealing with stuff in the community and you hear these things, just understand them. Don't try and fix them. Just love them, right? If they want help, try and help them. And encourage them to get help. So I just have there's so many of those stories in my life that I didn't realize were important to me until in the last 10 years. So as you deal with this, as you move this chapter through your leadership and what you're doing to take care of our community, just kind of keep that stuff in your mind of, okay, how do I touch these people? How do I help them?
No, that's a great story, and that's a great point. You're right, because they need to be touched. They need to be helped. A lot of people I didn't realize this when I came here back in 2005, what a military town this is. Over 250,000 retirees. Mm-hmm. Plus, what do we have, 40,000 at Nellis?
Something like that.
Another 10, 12 at Creeks. I mean, this is a military community. I never knew it going in here.
Yeah. Well, you got to think about it. Our weather's great. We have no taxes, right? And anything you want to do at any time of the day is here. So why would you not stay here?
Right. You've been up to Mount Charleston where they had a memorial.
Yep.
It was nice of you to call me a pillar, but you really are a pillar in this community when it comes to our veterans. You are so passionate about it, and talk about your position, your national position.
Well, it's my progression with this organization's been life-changing for me. I thank the people that have brought me along and taught me and things, and it just kind of fuels my passion. I am no longer part of the local chapter. I've moved up to the national level, and from there we are a national education committee where we go around the country to bases and universities, and we teach what's called a HELP program, which is nothing but a financial literacy class. It's based off of Freddie Mac's Credit Smart. We partnered with Freddie Mac. We built this new class. And we go into bases and we teach these guys what it takes to become financial literate, mortgage ready, post homeownership education, pre homeownership education. It's an 8-hour course. Once they get done with that course, they get a certificate of.
But this is different than MVHC?
Way different.
Okay.
Yeah. MVHC is certainly important. We're going to touch on that in a second.
Yeah.
But if you're asking me about the national stuff,
right.
But yeah, so that help program is certainly, again, I've been in these classrooms and I've seen these veterans, the light go off. They're like, holy crap, this is not what I'm used to being told. So it's certain that program I've seen change lives, and I know it's changing the community across the country. So back to your MVHC, that help program is a national initiative. The MVHC is a local initiative where you're going in and you're actually training the people that touch the veteran, the mortgage broker, the realtor, the title company, all those people to how to understand that VA home loan better. So to serve, when that veteran walks through the door, you understand how to serve them better, right? So that's the difference between the help program. MVHC is local and it's getting deep and the roots are deep. Look, I got to tell you, man, when we first started this in 2015, the MVHC, we met with a local supporter, and they came out with some figures of they were doing maybe 8% of their business was a veteran or VA business. Fast forward to last year, at a meeting, talked to them, and now they're doing 22% more veteran business. I want to believe, and I firmly believe, that because of the organization that you're leading here in this chapter, it has made a difference to them that they are serving that community much better.
I agree with that. When I first got involved working with veterans, it used to frustrate, it still does, frustrate me when I come across a home for sale, they're not offering VA financing. And when I call the agent, I see they're offering FHA, why not VA? Oh, well, it's too expensive. They don't know. They're uneducated.
No.
And the MVHC does a great job of educating these realtors and lenders.
Yep. People are for some reason, and look, the VA home loan and that process has certainly evolved. I mean, back in the day, it may have had some quirks and things
yeah,
to it.
it did.
But now, it's not, man. It is the best loan for a veteran out there. So,
I mean, all the seller pays is the escrow fee and a termite inspection.
yeah,
That's it.
And with the 1% rule, sometimes that goes away.
Yeah.
So it's not more expensive. They're limiting, because you just said we got 300,000 veterans.
We're over 11% of our people that live here are veterans.
So
Why
if
would you want to ignore those people?
Yeah, so if you're a seller and you're not listening, and your realtor says we're not going to allow VA financing, you're eliminating 11 or 12% of the population from viewing your property.
And actually, it's really more than that. If you think about it, those are adults. You take out the kids, it's even higher than that.
Right.
But you taught the first class I sat through, MVHC.
I did?
Yep, you were the instructor.
I think the very first one we did as an organization was that signature.
That's where I was at.
Oh, you were at that one?
That one up in up in the Summerlin office.
No, it was up Pete Torsielli's office.
Oh, okay. Well, the one I sat through with you was in my office in Summerlin.
Yeah, with Jane. Was it Jane?
Yep.
Yeah, Jane
Yep.
put that together. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, listen, it's you do your passion is just it's you wear it on your sleeve, and I love it. And it's a great group because we all are passionate about our veterans,
Right?
And that's what it has to be, because someone's got to be, because they were passionate enough to go out and put their life on the line.
Right. And yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, Ellie.
All right. So we know we love the veterans. We know VAREP is a fantastic organization.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about the mortgage business.
Oh, man, mortgage business is booming. It's busy. It's backed up just like everything else is. If you haven't taken advantage of the rates that have been coming out over the last 6 or 8 months, it's something you probably should do it now, not wait, because they are going up, in my opinion. If you want to know more about that and why I have that opinion, please call Ellie, and Ellie will have a call.
But no, before we go, give out your number so people can get a hold of you.
702-204-6415. Can you put that as a lower third, maybe? So, yeah, reach out. We'll help you. Look, being mortgage ready is different than it was a year ago. As Ellie was talking about, you have to be ready to move in a moment. And you need to be through that whole process, get everything done to your mortgage lender, get it all set up and straight. So we're basically waiting on a contract and title work and an appraisal. 3 things, right? And some ancillary things would take a little bit of time. As a buyer in the market, if you're not at that position, you could not make may not be as high as a consideration and offer. Like all offers have to be considered, right? But they get, I'm sure, I mean, you can speak to this better than I can. I'm sure they're like, okay, this is a VA offer. They can close in 20 days. Their appraisal contingency is only 7 days, and we're this and that, and it makes you a much stronger offer for that seller, right? So the whole idea of being mortgage ready is making yourself more attractive to that seller. So they'll be like, okay, I got all the confidence this is going to work. Let the agent deal with educating that seller and that listing agent if they needed, right? But you as a consumer, get ready, be ready.
No, that is right. You got to be ready, and you've got the agents and everyone has to think outside the box a little bit. Like you said, a shorter appraisal, or some people are waiving the appraisal, you know, if you can. But you have to think outside the box today. It's not normal at all right now.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll get back to normal at some point. But
I think
I don't see it for a while.
My opinion is sooner or later. I think
Sooner or later.
Yeah. Sooner than later.
So I hope so. I thought this moratorium that we were supposed to have would have done some help. But
what is your opinion on that? Because I look at that as a totally different thing. Everybody talks about this bubble and everything's busting. I just don't. I'm not buying into that only because this is.
I don't see a bubble. I don't mean a bubble for the moratorium. I mean the renters moratorium,
Yeah.
where they can, you know, if a landlord can evict someone who hasn't paid in a year. The belief is that a lot of these landlords are going to put these homes on the market.
Yep.
They're going to get out of that business. So it will help give us a little more inventory. Bubble, there's nothing that I see at all that gives us any indication of the bubble.
Yeah, I don't.
You agree?
I don't see it. And let me tell you the reason. Let me tell you my opinion why. This is a lot different than 07 and 08.
Oh, yeah.
Right? First of all, those people that were going into those foreclosures and losing their homes, they had no skin in the game.
None.
They were doing 100% financing and they had no down payment. And if the renter wasn't paying it, they just let it go back to the bank. I'm not saying, look, I'm just saying that sometimes
that's the way it was.
There's a lot of reasons why that happened. I'm just saying, but that's how it kind of went down. Now, because of the reform in the mortgage business in 2010, we had to make sure that when that person bought that house, they were qualified. And it was, you've heard the words qualified mortgage and non-qualified mortgage. Well, that's protecting us as a lender. And it's not also protecting us as a lender, it's protecting the consumer as a buyer. So now, here we are, 12, 13 years later, people have gone through that process, and now their house is worth, and this is my opinion, you can tell me if I'm wrong, now they got some equity. They're not going to walk away from this equity, even these investors that have renters in it. And I've heard stories of workarounds for those landlords the banks have finally realized it's better to work with the mortgage guy, the guy that holds the note, versus foreclosing and trying to get rid of that. So I think that piece is gone. I think that's where I think we're going to see a little bit of that, but not like we saw 12 years ago. I agree. Right? So now that customer has equity. So it's funny, if somebody now loses their job or they can't make their mortgage payment, they have options. They can sell their house, walk away with a little equity, go rent for a little while, get their life figured out, and then go get back in the market, 10 or 12 months later. So I don't see this massive flood of foreclosures like we saw, and everybody's talking about it. And maybe you can change my mind because I don't.
No, I can't. I agree with you. And this is other thing that's interesting. When I first came into town here, it was a freak that it happened, but I was an REO agent. I was listing for Aquin and for a couple other banks.
Right.
And man, it was fantastic. When the government bailed, I think it was Bush or Obama, when it bailed the banks out.
Yeah.
Well, I got cut off. I was completely put. It was 09. It was Obama.
Yeah.
I got put out of business. There was nothing, and for months and years, I kept hearing other people say, "Oh yeah, there's a flood of foreclosures. All this back. What do they call the ghost inventory or something?" It was none of that, and it was never coming. I had a bet with a guy. I forget his name now, but he was a REO guy also, and I think he's out of the business. So he was telling me how, this is about 2 years ago. Oh, we're going to have 20,000 homes. It's coming. And I knew it wasn't, and he lost his bet. He never paid off. So typical, Right. But the point is, I don't see it either. People have skin in the game. I remember when I would have to go and give people the bad news and do cash for keys. I mean, they had nothing. People have equity now, so It's a whole different ball game now. There's no question about it.
Yeah, for sure. Equity is a big position now, and I don't think people are going to walk away.
No.
Are going to walk away from it.
No, not at all. I'm with you.
So, again, mortgage ready is key. If you're going to be if
Yeah.
you're going to be an active buyer in this market, and you want to be able to make sure you can secure and be a high priority for that seller, get yourself ready.
Yep. And when you're out, when you see a home you like, if you got a realtor that says, "Well, we can go next week," you got to fire that person because they know you got to go today.
Yeah.
You can't wait till next week or next. You got to go with next 24 hours. You got to be in that house and make a decision.
Yeah.
There's no screwing around with this one.
Well, I mean, I don't know how you. I would think that if I'm a buyer and if it's 80% what I'm looking for, I should be making an offer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're not going to find a perfect home today, but you know what? Find a home, build some equity, get something. In a year or 2 or 3 or 4, go trade it in, get a new one.
Right.
No
I
big
saw some
deal.
stats this morning that we were up 15% over last year, and then the projected growth for this month or this year is 7%. So that's a solid
Healthy.
equity, healthy. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And home ownership gives you a chance. It gives you a chance. If you're renting, your money's gone. I'm not saying renting might be in your you may have to do today, and I get it. And people are in those positions, they may have to, but paying a rent payment that money's gone.
It's got to be a temporary situation.
Yeah.
And we've all done it.
Yep. If you're a homeowner, you're giving yourself a little bit of a chance, not a big chance. There's a chance of getting that money back. Because if you're struggling to make a $1,500 rent payment versus a $1,500 house payment, in 3 to 5 years, like Ellie was saying, you go to sell it, and there's a chance you're going to get some equity. You're going to build some equity. And in my mind, I look at that as, okay, I'm going to get at least some of my rent payments or some of my payments
Absolutely.
I made back. So there's a lot of ways to look at it.
And at the end of 3 years, all you have is 36 rent receipts.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's worth it's not worth the paper it's written on.
Right.
We're going to wrap this up soon, but I want before you go, you were great, man. This was fantastic. I really appreciate you coming on, man. I mean, really. Tell us, I like to ask our guests some of their favorite things about Las Vegas. Like, tell us your favorite restaurant in town.
Oh man, I'm a eater, man. I like to eat. I like good food, and I like I like really good whiskey. Right now, I would say Sparrow and Wolf is probably my top to go to, just because they have a very great selection of whiskey, and the food is phenomenal.
Now, I've heard of Sparrow and Wolf. Where is it? Is that on the strip?
Spring Mountain in Arville.
Oh, so it's in
Right by the Leather Den.
Okay.
Yeah.
You turn me on. I've been there so many times since you. What a great place. Scott Robinson turns me on to this bar. It's called the Leatherneck. It's a marine bar. It's a little mini museum.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great, man.
It's center of everything veteran in this community.
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Oh, so it's in that area.
Yeah, it's right in. It's you know where the Macy's is on that corner?
Yes.
It's right in that shopping center.
Okay.
Right there.
I've read about it. Never been there.
Yeah, it's Barrel. It's my wife's and I's favorite right now. Probably top. Right
You got a
now.
favorite show in town, even though we haven't had any shows for a while. You got a favorite show?
I'm not a big show except for the nights. The nights are the best show in town.
Yeah,
I
great
think.
show in town, man. That opening is the best thing you can
Absolutely.
imagine.
Yep.
How about outdoor activity?
I love the outdoors. I'm a big outdoor guy. I'm from Wyoming, like I said earlier. I grew up hunting and fishing. That's where my passion is. That's where I recharge the fastest. There's nothing better for me to sit up in the mountains and with a little cup of whiskey and watching some wood burn. I get more charged that way than anything else I do.
That's great, man. That's
Yep.
great. Thank you, brother.
Yep.
I appreciate you to no end, man. Big time.
Good.
Thank you. Hey, listen, glad you all tuned in. We'll be back next week with Ron Jacobs, a lender, a friend of mine from Detroit. We're going to hear what's going on back in my old hometown, Motown. So thank you. Have a great weekend. Happy Easter, everybody. And thanks again, man. Appreciate you, Scott.
You bet, brother.
Bye-bye.